Good morning, Professor and people. I'm going to analyze two poems. The first one is The Veil by Monisa Albi.
And the second one is Parsley by RITA.
Okay, so we're going to make a quick introduction to these two poems. My poem, The Veil, is a poem that came included in the poetry book called Europa by Monisa Albi, and it was published in 2008.
Parsley was written by Rita Dove, that was the youngest person and the first African American woman to be appointed poet laureate consultant by the Library of Congress. She was an exceptional student, even she was honored as a presidential scholar, and she has a lot of prizes, but one of the most important is the National Humanities Medal from Bill Clinton.
Okay, so we are going to talk about the literacy movement. It is contemporary modernism, and the objectives that we have to analyze these two poems is that we want to understand or learn to how to analyze text in a deeper way through this approach.
Okay, it is important to mention that we are going to use stop-but-fit like approach to analyze poems. So we are going to take into account some important aspects such as symbolism, theme, organization, progression, victory,
imagery, tone, dictation, and
on the soul.
Yeah. So as I mentioned before, The Veil is a poem written by Monisa Albi. She actually lives in England, but she was born in Pakistan. So she moved to England when she was just like 3 months old, and she never came back. She came back, but when she published her first poet collection, her first, and she went back to talk about her book. And
talking about Parsley, we can say that it is a contemporary American poem, but it belongs to the Black movement. This means, or better, it is called the Black movement because it is like a time that Black Power movement take an important role, because music, art, book were focused on social, political aspects related with discrimination. Also, talking about like a historical context, we can say that Parsley was based on real events. The Parsley massacre, that where thousands of Asian people were killed just for the reason that they couldn't pronounce the letter R.
And when talking about The Veil, one may think that because it came included in the poetry book called Europa, it is because of the place that we know. But in fact, it is because of the Lebanese princess Europa that was raped and abducted by the god Zeus in the form of a bull. So that's the reason why Europa, the poetry book, is called that way. And when talking about the literacy movement, the one that we have is the contemporary modernism movement. And the characteristics of this literacy movement is that it follows melancholy as a central theme. It also follows, like, it talks about past times, and it mentions like gods and myths and all that stuff, and it also considers that there is no true. It's not a general true. All things are relative.
And I can say that Parsley it is based on real events. So this is
My
one
poem.
of the
Yeah.
differences. Yeah, we are going to talk about differences
And similarities that we have. The similarities that we found in our two poems is the approach, because we both analyzed the approach following the step by feet approach. The other one is colors. In my poem, the writer doesn't like talks or mentions colors like in a clear way, but she mentions like dark as the river's take. So one may relate dark with color black,
and in my case it's the color green, because all the things that are in the poems are color green. For example, the parrot, the parsley, spring, and so on.
and the other one is the theme, because in our two poems, in my poem, sadness and resignation are
Okay, and sadness and death in my case. And talking about the difference, I can say that the repetition of idea is something particular in Rita Dove's poems. And what about you? You don't have it?
No, I don't have repetition of ideas.
Okay. And the other difference is the main topic. In my case, is linguistic discrimination.
And in my case, is deprivation of reality and the female body.
And my point it's based on historical and political issues.
And the other part is the rhyme aspect. In my poem, the rhyme follows 6-line stanzas rhyme and visual rhyme patterns. And in yours?
In my case, it follow like a different rhythm, and I'm going to explain this later in a deeper way.
Okay, so when talking about the linguistic elements, symbolism is an important aspect here. In this poem, the speaker describes the veil. In these words, what is a veil but a kind of partition? So one may relate the word partition with division. So it is like what's going on between the US and Mexico, the border that is going on, that topic. So dividing people, it's like an example of what partition may be. And in the other one, in lines 11 and 12, it says eggs are cracked open and the yolks run everywhere. So the action of cracking something is violent, and the yolks run everywhere is like criminals not paying for what they've done. And yeah.
And talking about, in my case, the principal symbolism is parsley, that means violence, and the parrot, that is synonym of beautiful. Parsley, because it's the word because of a lot of people died, like we can see in the last lines that say he will order many this time to be killed for a single beautiful word.
Yeah. The theme, it's in mind female body and deprivation of reality.
In my case, linguistic discrimination.
The other aspect is the speaker.
Yeah.
It is something different, because in my poem, the narrative voice is the same one who wrote the poem.
And in my case, it could be like a person who have to face this situation, like a worker in the cane field.
So we're seeing her poem through the worker eyes, and my poem through the poet eyes.
Okay. What about the audience? I think that this is a really difficult poem to understand.
And it's something similar that we have, because everyone can read it, but not everyone can understand it. So it is like directed, or the poem is for adults in general.
Yeah, and in my case, people need to have like a background knowledge about the historical and political issues at that time. So the main idea of the main situation here and the most important places are the cane field and the Trujillo's Palace. And what about you?
In mine, the receding east and the receding west. So one may believe that because she lived in Pakistan, she's making reference of the place she used to live. And the poem, what she wants to do with the poem is people to realize that common things are being veiled, so are being like forbidden.
Talking about a little bit of atmosphere, in my opinion, I can say that it's a terrific story. This is a really sad moment, and the author really want to express that. They really want to let people know about it, about the story and about this massacre.
And in the poem, this poem, the atmosphere, the writer doesn't use happy expressions. The only two happy expressions that she uses is novelty and Georginess, but then she contradicts herself by using words such like lament. And she also makes reference of the river Styx, calling it dark, comparing it with dark. So these examples are like shows that the atmosphere of this poem is sad, is dramatic, and it has a taste of resignation.
Yeah, and also I can say that the word that the author repeats a lot of time is death. That is like the final situation, and also it is related with nature, spring, parrot, and so on.
And the word that the author repeats a lot in my poem.
Okay, talking about Parsley by RITA organization, I can say that it is divided into parts. The first one is the cane fields and the second one is the palace. So RITA use some commas, points, and so on. Okay, in the first part, that is the cane fields, we can say that it is a villanelle, that we have 5 tercet stanzas, as we can see it in this part, and one quatrain. And in total we have 19 lines. This is like we have to have like a structure A B A, but the author here breaks some rules, because as we can see we can find rhyme, but in this one we are not to find rhyme. And also another particular thing here is the repetition of lines. For example, there is like a parrot imitating screams. In this part the same, and this part the cane appears, and in this order. And the last paragraph, that is the quatrain, it has like a structure A B A A. And to the second part of the poem, we can find 5 stanzas, 3 of them with 7 lines, and the others 8 lines. This is the author used like a free. The author used a free. Like a free verse. This means that we are not going to find this is no iambic and pentameter, and no rhythmic scheme.
And when talking about the organization of the veiled, it follows, the first paragraph follows 6-line stanzas rhyme, because it says, "We thought we knew the sky spread above us, but now it too is veiled. We read newspapers through a haze. The rose wears a veil, though it cannot shield us from its storm." So here, us with a, it has a connection, and so it is rhymed a, b, a, b, a, b. So it follows. Here we have 6 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's why it follows 6-line stanzas. And in the last part of the poem, the writer uses visual rhyme patterns, as east and west are similar words, are words that look alike, but they do not sound the same. And this poem follows, is divided in 26 lines, and as I said before, it follows two types of rhymes. The first one in the first paragraph and the other one in the last paragraph. Okay, so I believe that this poem focuses on the female body and the privation of reality. Jefferson Holdridge from Wake Forest University, he says that the poem is more focused on the female body, as it mentions like waist, hips, roses, and that stuff. But I believe that it also makes reference of the privation of reality, as the veil is working as like as something that is cover the world from something that we don't know, something that probably people with power know, but we don't. So we don't really know what is going on in our lives. And if we do, then things start to change. Yeah.
Okay, I would say that Parsley is a really beautiful way to talk about this horrible or terrifying situation. So I can say that the author used the adequate words to talk about. She wanted to incorporate some nature and some aspects that are related with us. For example, like the animals, like spring, and so on. And I forgot to mention the important
Of the figurative language.
that is in my case the simile and the anticlimax, that was the three final lines. He will order many this time to be killed for a single beautiful word that was parsley. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's pretty much all. Thank you. You are going to find in
Below,
a deeper.
like a deeper information of the figurative language, tone, and imagery of
Some
the
aspects
analysis.
that we don't include because
Of time.
Because of time.